Good morning. Her Worship the Mayor, Councillor Sade Gawanas, all councillors present, Acting CEO, Tate Kanjo, colleagues, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the press briefing by Her Worship on various issues pertaining the City of Windhoek. Having said that, I will not waste much time. I will allow the Mayor to address the media. Your Worship, can you come to the front?
Mr. Akwene, thank you for the welcoming. Councillor Cllr, present. Councillor Hecht, that is also present. Mr. Brian Ekanjo, Acting Chief Executive Officer. Strategic executives and officials present. Windhoek residents, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Allow me on the onset to extend a warm welcome to all of you present here in my capacity as the Mayor of Windhoek and Chairperson of Council. I'm immensely grateful that you are all here amidst this turmoil of controversial media articles and overwhelming media attention. This media briefing was scheduled to report on the activities of Council for the past 6 months. Unfortunately, as politics would have it, there was an opportunistic press conference held. Today's press conference was scheduled to take place and not as a reactive one to the press conference held yesterday. It is very disappointing to have used a council platform to score political points and agendas. So as the chairperson of council, a leader entrusted to run the affairs of council, I am going to address a few issues. Before we begin, I would like to say that the era of mismanagement of council resources, infrastructure, and enjoyment of the gravy train came to an end in December 2020. We understood that change is inevitable. We also understand that change is difficult, and there will be constant resistance in trying to change the current status quo. What is also very clear, and what we take cognizance of, is that we could have never impacted big changes in a year and 6 months. Also looking at the political dynamics of today. It is unrealistic to think that dealing with mismanagement of these resources, ill culture of certain individuals, and rebuilding this organization will happen in less than 5 years. Especially when we have awakened the masses that things can no longer be the same as usual, and that accountability and commitment should be at the forefront in channeling all resources available to us to affect real change at grassroots level. Some political parties do not understand common purpose, common agendas for common objectives, and try to hijack the leadership to navigate their will and whim. Unfortunately, that cannot be the case. Council has been alerted to the financial situation of City, and there are 2 committees, namely the Financial Sustainability Committee, chaired by Councillor Nyoma, and the Audit Risk Committee, that are reporting to Council in terms of managing the finances and rebuilding its financial management trustworthiness. These are the committees, together with a functioning MC, tasked and delegated to assist Council to make financial prudent decisions. I also trust that the capable leadership will address these matters to the best of their capabilities, as both political leaderships, committees, and the officials implementing Council resolutions and running the day-to-day activities of this Council. Cllr has been looking good from the outside, but has been rotting, decaying slowly but surely. Yes, the truth hurts. But we are here now. And the question needs to be answered as to what are we going to do about it? Council has not failed. Some individuals have. Our assignment is very clear. Go out there and effect change so that the most vulnerable in society can benefit and their dignity restored. And thus, amidst the sensational reporting, important information, achievements, milestones that will change lives are lost in the mainstream media. I am in support of each and every employee that works towards the development of our beautiful city. I take cognizance of the immense pressure they work under. I'm committed to support you to streamline all resources for the benefit of our people. We are together in all of this. I urge you to remain committed and steadfast in our resolve to continue making a difference, no matter how insignificant it might look to others. I share my sincere gratitude to Council for their belief and commitment to each employee creating conducive environments. We will now look at key areas of focus. 2022. Strategic Plan 2022 for 2027. Land and the electrification projects for 5 years. The familiarization visits and renewal of agreements with sister local authorities. Key visits and key discussions and outcomes. Council meeting highlights. And yes, of course, the recruitment and selection process of the CEO. The Strategic Plan 2022 of the Municipal Council of Windhoek Transformation Plan 2017 to 2022 came to its end this year in June. And as good governance principles dictate, we have been making strides in the planning and drafting of our new Strategic Plan 2022 to 2027. The engagements with councillors, strategic executives, employees, and all relevant stakeholders have been in progress. And since its beginning, we have shown our utmost commitment to improve on service delivery and focused our energy on the following aspects: basic services and land delivery, formalization and upgrading of the informal settlements, public safety and disaster risk management, economic development, sourcing of funds for capital and social projects, transforming towards best practices of smart city standards, and most importantly, strengthening the organizational capacities and processes to respond to our customer needs. Most importantly, we have looked at the long-term plans, especially in terms of the spatial development framework, which is planning for 20 years and focusing on the trajectory growth of our populace. These efforts are to ensure long-term financial, environmental, economic, and social sustainability. What emerges with these engagements and consultations has been the common understanding to effect deliberate transition management, organizational and financial needs to address the basic needs of our community at large. The future is exciting, and when we have finalized, we will launch the new Strategic Plan 2022 to 2027. Update on land developments. Council set to plan avail 15,000 erven during Council's term of office, of which 12,000 erven meant for the low-income segment of the market and 3,000 erven in middle and high-income segment of the market. Availing erven translates directly to housing opportunities. However, this involves huge finances and time to implement. To maximize efficiency and effectiveness in housing delivery, Council passed the Affordable Housing Policy and further resolved to enter into development agreements for affordable housing with NHE and representative bodies of saving schemes in the country. Delivering first houses under this arrangement is expected within a year and 6 months. We all know that housing is a fundamental human right, and everyone deserves to have a roof over their heads. However, it is a sad reality that many families in Windhoek and Namibia at large, particularly middle to low income areas or single family homes, struggle to afford basic housing. Our economy plays a major role in the housing crisis in Namibia. Whilst the cost of living and food prices soar, salaries remain stagnant. This becomes a problem, as many people are not in a financial position to be able to purchase a house or to pay their dues. There is already a backlog in the housing department, which is one of the biggest problems facing us as council. Many Namibians need proper housing, but instead find themselves living under unhealthy conditions in the informal settlements. The rapid rural to urban migration trends also place severe strain to rapid urbanization as more people move to Windhoek in search of better opportunities. This fact is using challenging in terms of land and housing delivery. This said, there is some good news which I hope I can share with you. The certificates of acknowledgement of occupation. In July 2019, Council, as per resolution, adopted the development and upgrading policy, which guides for the formalization and upgrading of informal settlements. To elevate urgent accommodation need and strengthen security of tenure, Council issued over 21,000 certificates of recognition of occupation to households living in the informal settlements, made provision for controlled entry to the informal settlements, pre-allocated and full implementation of the Flexible Tenure Act. One of the shifts in the policy is that people living in the informal settlements who have not undergone any form of planning are now recognized by the way of an acknowledgement of occupation letter. In February 2021, Council resolved that the recognition of occupation must be issued in the form of certificates and associated lease agreements. Within a period of 2 years, the Municipal Council of Windhoek issued 29,137 certificates of acknowledgement of occupation, with which 21,133, around 73%, were issued to household heads in the informal settlement. A total number of another 8,000 minimum certificates will be issued in August 2022, and we still continue. Relocation of households from the road reserve. The Municipal Council of Windhoek and Ongos Valley Development, as part of the road upgrading to a dual carriageway, successfully relocated 215 households from the Ineas Peter Nanyemba Road, previously known as Monte Cristo, to plant sites on portion farm 1030. This project is ongoing and includes construction of municipal markets to accommodate traders at the intersection of Ineas Nanyemba Road and Machichi Streets. The Informal Settlement Pilot Affordable Housing Project. The Ministry of Urban and Rural Development, Khomas Regional Council, Municipal Council of Windhoek, and the National Housing Enterprise entered into an MOU for the construction of 1,200 houses in the low-income areas of Windhoek. The Municipality of Windhoek and NHE are implementing agents responsible for the construction of 600 houses each. The agreed duration of the project was set out in the MOU, which is 2 years from July 2020 to June 2022.
We just received a complaint. Why is our Facebook page down? We need this to be live streamed. Why is it down? Can somebody just explain to me? Is it on? Was other councillors they're calling, they can't see.
Okay. Okay. Please just check on that. To June 2022. Delays in the commencement of construction and complications related to COVID-19 resulted in the extension of the project completion date. From the given total of 600 houses, the municipality constructed and handed over 320 affordable houses. The project is ongoing. A new completion date is set for the 30th of November, 2022. It is important that the media gets the right information to be able to cover. Areas where construction of housing units is taking place are Onyika Informal Settlement, Oguriangaba, Freedom Land A and B Informal Settlements, Oguriangaba, Havana Township, and formal sites in Goriaga, Ochimise, and Karatura. The NHE project areas are Greenwell, Matongo D. In October 2021, via resolution, Council adopted the Affordable Housing Policy as its policy guide in housing. Further to the above, and due mainly to housing crisis, which was exacerbated by the lack of investor appetite in affordable housing, Council resolved per resolution to enter the affordable housing market and start the actual construction of houses through a program known as the Windhoek Housing Program. To test the concept, Council in April 2022 identified 8 unserviced erven and commenced with servicing of the erven and completed the installation of services in June 2022. The construction of affordable housing units is scheduled to start in August 2022 and anticipated completion in 6 weeks after commencement. The servicing of the 8 erven marked the start of the Windhoek Housing Project. I hope that has been noted. Beneficiaries of the project will be sourced from the land and housing waiting list. Delivery of service land through PPPs. With the end of the strategic plan, Council entered into 14 PPPs agreements and co-developed for the servicing of 2,903 erven zoned as follows. Residential, 2,429. General residential, 237. Business, 125. Institutional, 16 erven, and other land users, 96 erven. From the given total of 1,076 residential and single residential zoned erven are at sale stage and over 90% have been sold. The project team is working at full speed to accelerate the completion of the projects, still in the design and construction phase, and those at statutory planning phase. We are looking at fast-tracking delivery as well as looking to cancel agreements that has not been beneficial to Council. The period during July to December 2022, the municipality signed 978 leases in the informal settlement, which is extremely very low and will be reviewed to understand why it is taking so long to do so. Also, there has been a cadastral survey done in Groot-Oop as part of the effort to streamline the integration of Groot-Oop. Council embarked on a project to survey all farming units in the Groot-Oop area. To date, 75% of the farms have been surveyed. Surveying the farm units is expected within a month, followed by the confirmation of a boundary for erven in Groot-Oop Prosper, Extension 1 and Extension 2. Completion of the survey will be followed by entry to lease agreements with all households and farmers without a title. About 99% of residents of Groot-Oop are without formal land titles at this stage. Electrification. Ladies and gentlemen, electricity is a basic service commodity. Owing to the lack of electricity services in Windhoek's informal areas, the rate of electricity theft via illegal electricity connections amongst the residents of the communities has skyrocketed. These illegal connections affect the surrounding areas, causing overloading, interruptions, revenue losses, unaccounted electricity usage, safety hazards such as electrocution and fires, electrical losses, and general poor service provision to our residents, which impacts Council's reputation. The objectives of the electrification project are as follows: to reduce and address illegal connections and theft of electricity within the Windhoek's informal areas, to increase access to electricity services within the informal areas, and to improve public safety by providing area lightening. The electrification projects aim to provide individual service connections to households in the informal settlements around Windhoek. In addition, some informal settlements were provided with area lighting with the installation of high masts. Also, I must add that sometimes we cannot go and electrify certain areas simply because the planning of that area and the moving of residents to other areas and to plan has been an extreme challenge for the electricity department. Hence, there are certain communities or members of communities that have received electricity and others hasn't been because of the town planning within that area. These projects were funded by the central government through budget allocations to the ministry. Nampower also provided funding for the electrification of informal settlements during the 2020-2021 financial year, and we will also look at it in 2022-2023 financial year. The planning and project management of these projects were done internally by council's electrical engineers. Electrical infrastructures were constructed by our electrical contractors, appointed annually and supervised by the electricity department. I would just like to give a brief outline on what has happened in terms of the electrification, year 2019 to 2020. The informal settlements Okahanja Park, Havana Proper Extension 1, 2, and 3 were electrocuted in about 1,025 households. During the same period, Havana Extension 6 and 7, Tobias Hanyeko, Groot Oak, and Mixed Settlement 2, 4, 6, 8, 15 households were electrified. The following individual connections were also completed: Havana Extension 1 and 3, Ochimise 6 and 7, Kaintane Group in Khomasdal, Babylon One Nation, ERF 3219 and 3220, Babylon Kilimanjaro, Okahanja Park, Ongolombashe, Havana Extension 6 and 7, and that totaled to about 1,667. Also in the same period, provided with electricity were the informal settlements Aihambo Deha Nale Interlocks, Soccer Field, Kilimanjaro, Mukwanang Gombe, Mixed Settlement, Havana Extension 6 and 8, Kilimanjaro, Okahanja Park B and C, Havana Extension 1, Okuriangava, Blocked Airs 3216, 3192, and 3193. And Ochimise, Khomasdal, totaled about 1,021. During the financial year 2022 to 2023, the Electricity Department plans to install prepaid meters at the following marketplaces around Windhoek: Bonsmara Market, Windhoek Flea Market, Karatura Industrial Stalls, Ochimise Market, and Panias Park Market. During the months of June and July 2022, councillors and I visited various sister local authorities and village town councils throughout Namibia. Various cooperations agreements were reached and renewed with, amongst, just to mention a few, Okakarara, Ochivarango, Ocho Omaruru, Korijas, Ondangwa, Oshakati, Onkwendiva, Otapi, Oshikuku, Ludrets, Karasburg, Beersheba. The agreements focuses on areas of cooperation in terms of technical skills exchange, solid waste management, water and waste management, HR management and staff development, promotion of local economic development, administration, property management, and sharing of resources, and especially capacity building. We have reiterated the need to streamline resources through strategic action planning and implementation to assist our local sisters. As the chairperson of council, I am the principal head of council, and in consultation with council, implement initiatives, programs, policies, and create conducive environments. Any achievements cannot only be looked at as an isolation of the mayor's achievements, but rather that of as the collective. As the mayor, I am tasked to meet strategic people and liaise with international bodies, meet diplomats, business people, financial institutions, in building meaningful relationships and partnerships for the agenda of council in the broader context of development and making our people's lives a little bit easier through delivering services as mandated by the Act. I am also entrusted as a mayor to guard and safeguard the interests of our residents, and in doing so through constant engagements with officials and the community in creating conducive environments for all to strive. Amongst a few, there were launching initiatives. There is a list. If the media would like to express more on that, it's available. Also, I had more than about 60 courtesy visits within the last 6 months. It takes time, it takes patience, and it takes knowledge to be able to engage with different kinds of people. I had residence visits, elderly, anybody comes into our offices, they sit, they consult with councillors. I'm sure each councillor will have a list of residents that visits them. We also have annual traditional activities and events that the mayor, as the mayor of Windhoek, is supposed to engage with. We have signing of agreements where Windhoek received a 37 million grant from the EU funding project for solid waste management. And I must stress, a flagship agreement in the history of Windhoek. It has never happened. That all because people have worked together. They have streamlined resources, they have taken their time, and they have made things happen. I'm also responsible to have mayoral duties in terms of donations for social progression. The fund of the mayoral trust is now standing at $2 million. I'm looking to use most of it to benefit people out there, our residents that are struggling with any or everything, and I hope that I can be supported through the administration to be able to use that money for social progression. We have also agreements with the United Development for further development. You would also know that we started the mayoral cleanup campaign in Windhoek, which is very critical. People might look at it as if it is something insignificant. But clean environments create conducive environments, and that, for me, is extremely very important. Strengthening relationships and consultative engagements with the regional and central government to liaise and consult on matters affecting our residents. And most importantly, the urban agricultural project at Farm Okokuna for sustainable food production. I'm sure that you have also read in the media about the council launching the Windhoek Integrated Community Awareness, Risk Awareness Campaign. The aim is to create awareness and train local communities on how they can reduce community vulnerability to specific hazards and public safety. The campaign will focus mainly on the fire prevention, floods, handling of chemicals, usage of candles, gas and paraffins, health and hygiene promotion, environmental protection issues, and emergency communications. You would also know that the chairperson of council is the chairperson of the Disaster and Risk Management Committee, that in the event that there are emergency services within the City of Windhoek, we will have to liaise with the regional disaster risk management in order to deal with emergencies within the boundaries of Windhoek. Council meeting highlights. The following decisions, amongst others, were approved over the last 6 months. A memorandum of understanding for the establishment of the friendly city relations between the Municipal Council of Windhoek and the City of Mannheim in Germany. The friendly cooperation, which is expected to strengthen the historic, economic, arts, and cultural ties between the two cities, was signed on the 1st of April 2022, there in Mannheim, when we went to sign our Bremen agreement. We then also took the opportunity to visit Mannheim and see what we can learn from them. One of the most important ones is the approval to electrify Havana Extension 1 and Okuriangava, Block 3216, 3192 and 3193. Further, to ensure safety in terms of electricity provision, reduce electricity theft, and improve revenue collections at the municipal markets, the traders at the following markets were approved to get individual prepaid electricity meters. I will not mention them, they are there for your perusal. Council to accept a partial donation to conduct a pre-feasibility study of waste to energy from Smart City Sweden. We want to use and learn about how to use waste and create energy from waste, and I think this is one of the most important partial donations that we accepted as council for the feasibility study to begin. We had also, I'm sure you had learned, we had donated a bus to the correctional services, approved donations of vehicles to Multi-Here Village Council. We also currently having the Delegation Management Committee from the Windhoek Council with our technocrats basically learning about how we can assist them in areas where they need assistance. We have also identified Erwin approved for the construction of 2 pilot waste pipe centers as part of improving solid waste management in Windhoek's initiative. 2 identified Erwin were approved for the construction of 2 temporary waste buyback centers for the pilot project over 2 years, funded by the European Commission as part of improving solid waste management in Windhoek initiative under the Windhoek-Bremen Corporation. I had previously mentioned about the 37 million. So that is basically, in terms of the 37 million, there would be projects that would run in terms of capacity building, circular economy incubator program, one of the most important, awareness raising, construction of waste buyback centers to sort out waste within our communities. Last but not least, the CEO's appointment. Mumbu, do I have your attention? Good, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that we all appreciate the critical function of the Chief Executive Officer, which serve as the administrative head and intermediary channel between the political and administrative structures of Council. Most importantly, the key role of the Chief Executive Officer is to ensure the implementation of Council resolutions and expedite fast, efficient, and meaningful services to the residents of Windhoek. I will now go into the background. The Local Authority Council is the only body empowered with the authority to appoint the Chief Executive Officer, in line with Section 27, subsection 1A. This power is enshrined in the Section 31DA of the Local Authorities Act, read together with the Regulation 31 of a Recruitment and Selection Regulations. Unless Council has divested its or delegated its powers, in which case will be contrary to Section 31DA of the Local Authorities Act. Section 31DA prohibits the power of appointing the CEO from being delegated. Those powers must be exercised by Council and not a committee of Council and or any other committee of Council. It is on the basis that the recruitment and selection process is guided by the regulations which refers to Local Authority Council before any other organ. Section 27 1B vests the power to employ all other staff members in the management committee. The recruitment process is outlined in the recruitment and selection regulations. On this premises, therefore, the regulation refers to the Local Authority Council as the first and final point of approval or disapproval. In case the power being delegated in terms of Section 31, and then to MC, and then to the CEO, and it should be in that order of sequence of authority. The recruitment and selection regulation does not empower the MC to take decisions on behalf of the local authority council, especially where the powers cannot be delegated as stated above. In the case of council's procedure that has been undertaken, we have observed the recommendations by MC as a report to council according to the standing rules. Section 22, subsection 5 of the standing rules clearly stipulate that the recommendations of management committee to council is a recommendation of a management committee and is considered as a proposal which has been seconded. This is a contradiction of the this would be a contradiction of the regulation 27 subsection A of the recruitment and selection, which requires MC to make its recommendation with specific reasons as to why they feel the process was not appropriate and now must be restarted as a result. Ex parte, it is only logic that the decision to appoint or not to appoint vests in council. Thus, by application, the power to set aside any decision of the interviewing panel vests in council and not in the committee of council, which is the management committee. Additionally, should MC contest the interview panel's decision, then we can rely on the provisions of Regulation 28 of the Recruitment and Selection Regulations, specifically 3, paragraph G. In the exodus to this matter, the power to appoint or not to appoint a CEO is vested in council as per Section 27, subsection 1, read together with Regulation 31 of the Recruitment and Selection Regulations. The MC is only empowered to make recommendations to council and not to accept the interviews panel's recommendation and propose for alternative options which council can adopt. Thus, if the whole process must be nullified, then the MC must make such recommendations so that a decision must be made by council in line with Regulation 27, subsection 8B. The regulation empowers MC to only make such recommendations and cite their reasons as opposed in their resolutions which was provided to the acting CEO. Those MC resolutions must be recommendations of MC to council, which will be in line with Section 27, subsection 8, and specifically paragraph B. As the matter stands, management committee is usurping powers which as a subcommittee does not have. Therefore, it could be overstepping its powers. Considering how far the recruitment process went, MC cannot terminate the process without the approval of council and cannot and will not enforce and bully council. The matter is before council, and until such time that council has pronounced themselves, MC will not force the process to restart and council will do its due diligence. All matters in front of council will be dealt with in terms of principles of legality, rationality, and reasonableness. Also justifiability. I hope that the above is clear. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Your Worship. It was surely loud and clear. Members of the media, I'll allow a question or two from each media house. I would like you to state your name, the media house you belong to, and pose your question. Who's ready?
Ukhonek Shakhe from the Namibian Sun newspaper. Mayor, Your Worship, yesterday your colleague in council, Mr. Jürgen Hecht, made a number of, revealed a number of things regarding the City of Windhoek's finances. One dealt with the bus service, and the other was the unaffordability of the city police. Going forward as council, how do you intend to rescue the situation? I mean, given that the city, that this, your colleague has said that the city police is unaffordable because of the money spent on it, and as well as the bus service, which at this point was identified as being loss-making, and the fact that some drivers, not all of the drivers are utilized on a full-time basis. How do you just plan to go about addressing those weaknesses identified? Thank you.
Emil?
Thank you. My name is Emil Sebeb. I'm a reporter with the NBC. Since yesterday, I'm noticing when the MC spoke, and now that the mayor is here, a lack of councillors in the chambers. Have the councillors been invited? Are they aware of this press conference? Are they in consensus or in agreement with the statements that are being delivered at the chambers? Where are the councillors of this chamber? Your Worship, last year you went on record, I think it was on one of the broadcasters, when you announced that you are also not for or in favor of the appointment of the successful candidate. And of course, I am aware that the LPM then said for political reasons they now support the appointment. For political reasons, they did not want to for the appointment, or they were not for the appointment of the successful candidate, but for the interest of the residents of Windhoek, they now support the appointment of Mr. Lutombi as the CEO. Maybe if you could dwell into some of these political reasons, maybe specifics, that you are also against the process, the recruitment process. And Your Worship, it is quite evident and it is quite clear, my last question, that there is division within your council. We witnessed it yesterday, and this possibly it also happened in front of, I saw some junior staff, I saw some SEs, and it sort of like trickles down to the day-to-day administrative work at the municipality. Is it healthy right now to work here? And how is your office tackling this division in the political leadership? And if this is what we see at the forefront of the political leadership, is this the same when it comes to the administration of the city? And how are you dealing with this, or how do you plan to deal with this? Thank you so much.
Eddie?
Oh, yes, good morning, Your Worship and your residents. I'm Edward from the New Era. Maybe just to tie in with Emil's question on the appointment of the CEO, you would realize that yesterday the MC ventilated some reasons, I think 3 or 4 reasons, why they think the process of the appointment of the CEO is tainted. Do you believe that those reasons are not worthy of the paper they are written on, or what is your position on that? The second question is, my understanding is that one of the, at the heart of the bone of contention by MC is the fact that Mr. George Mayumbelo formed part of the interview panel as well as the selection committee, and that was not it was not supposed to be the case. And my understanding is that Mayumbelo, in his score sheet, if it can be proven otherwise, maybe the city can provide the score sheet. My understanding is that he scored Mr. Lutombi, who is alleged to be a close associate of his, 100%. Out of 26 questions, Mr. Lutombi was scored 100%. It's 80 out of 80. Is this true? And can you perhaps lay bare the facts if it's to the contrary? The other allegation is at some point earlier this year, we heard that it was alleged, I don't know whether by you or by some of the councillors, that Dr. Ampanda had taken some of the interview sheets to his house. Is this true? What do you make of Amupanda's submission to? There was a submission by Dr. Amupanda as well that there was a WhatsApp group created by the MC where they were planning the future of the CEO of Windhoek. Does this then not speak to the process that the process credibility is coming into question here? And lastly, perhaps the change in heart now for the appointment of the CEO. Can you take the city into confidence that you really have the interest of the residents at heart? Thank you.
Can we first answer those that we got from the various media house, and then we can continue with further questions. Let's start with Gawanas in terms of the financials with regard to the bus services and city police, which are unaffordable and loss-making. Your Worship.
Okay. You were also told yesterday that the wage bill of the city is very high. And I'm sure you'd also understand that we pay strategic executives very lucrative salaries. Mr. Mutonga, please kindly elaborate on that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. To answer the question on the bus services and city poll, I think we should not look at these services in isolation. We are looking at these services as part of the services that we are rendering to the city, to the residents of City of Windhoek. And any strategies that needs to be taken, we are looking at the overall organization. Currently, as part of financial sustainability in the coming strategy, which the mayor has mentioned that it will very soon it will be shared with the media. There are various options that we are looking at which need to be communicated, and we need to bear in mind also that, look, we are dealing with employees who have permanent contracts with council, so we do not need to take certain decisions in a rush that might have a dire consequence for City of Windhoek financially, but at the same time interrupt service delivery. So yes, at this moment, the information, the consideration that are on the tables that are still in discussion cannot be shared with the media until such a time that information is there. But we are hard at work looking at the financial sustainability of the City of Windhoek. I think that's what I can answer on that particular question.
The next question is from Emil. Let me just read two in one. It's evident there's a lack of councillors within the chambers. Are they aware of this briefing? Were they informed of this briefing? Did they agree on whatever is being broadcast or briefed to the masses? And secondly, Your Worship, you went to the radio with regard to the appointment of the CEO being for the appointment, for being against the appointment. Now the LPM are for the appointment. What can you say about this? Let's take those two before we go to the next one.
Okay, thank you very much. Emil, you would know that the political dynamics of the city had changed in December 2020. Councillor Mupanda was the first mayor for 2021. And you would also appreciate that whenever there was an event that he had spearheaded or project or initiative, that I myself as Sade Gawanas had always committed to support. I've always been there, I've always supported. And I think that would also show the commitment from certain councillors. Now, when I became the mayor of the City of Windhoek, I became so because not only was I elected and seconded by the IPC and NUDO, but in actual by the AR, PDM, SWAPO councillors not voting or putting up a second candidate, I became the mayor of the city. I understood the full role of being a mayor, and I understood the full challenges ahead of me. However, I am still confident that I, within my abilities as well as the councillors that will still choose to support any program, any initiative that I do in 2022, I will still continue. If any councillor feels that they do not want to support any initiative of myself or council at the stage, I cannot force them to do so. I cannot force them to come to a meeting, a press conference that the chairperson of council is hosting. I cannot force them to contribute in meetings. I cannot force them to do anything, because these are individuals within their capacities that understand the mandate of council, and that if we do not converge our energies and time and commitment and stop the infighting and stop whatever it is, that we will not achieve anything for the next 3 years. Council or councillors can never work in isolation. We are 15 councillors sitting here. Now imagine, for example, NUDO becomes the mayor and is the chairperson of council. And then LPM decides, we're not going to get involved and we're just going to leave everything there, because we are not. What does it say about our mandate as politically elected representatives of the city of Windhoek? That we can merely not put away our side differences and be able to converge energies to make sure that services are delivered to our people. As I mentioned in my speech, I said, change is difficult, but it is the only thing that is constant. And it requires from all of us to be able to converge our differences and similarities in order to make things happen. As the City of Windhoek chairperson, I can never work in isolation. So it is unfortunate, Emil, that we are sitting here with 2 different press conferences being held, one by MC yesterday and one today by council. But I am the representative of council, and I am one of the people that can speak on behalf of council, as well as the communications department and the acting CEO that is sitting here. We have the mandate to communicate to our residents. And it is also unfortunate that at a time where we have to report to our residents and let them know of the challenges that we face, we are sitting here with a divided council. I cannot control that. All I can control, Emil, is me, Sade Gawanas. What is it that we are going to do as councillors together with those that are interested to provide services to the residents of Windhoek? Also, I'm sure, Emil, that my political party president, Honorable Bernarda Swartboy, had explained to you in terms of the political stance that we took. In 2021, I was one of the councillors that sat in that council. I remember I was sitting in that chair. And I had questions as to the number of candidates that didn't tally, as to the interview panel that was chosen. And mind you, there were 3 meetings, special meetings, MC meetings that had taken and resolved the interview panel. They knew who was going to be in the interview panel. So when we got clarity from the HR department and they did their presentations, we thought, okay, well, there isn't material evidence to suggest that the process should be nullified. And hence today we are sitting here with information that we have to be able to support the process. How am I planning to deal with the situations? I think I have tackled that one. It is unhealthy, Emil. It's unhealthy for any organization to work in silos, not to communicate, not to have counsel, to have ill culture problems and issues. It is unhealthy. That I cannot deny. It takes us back 50 to 100 years. And if we fail to converge our energies and converge our commitments, there was a time I even said, even if SWAPO can identify a specific project that they want to achieve, IPC the same, AR the same, let us converge and then decide, okay, for this financial year, what is it that we can achieve together? The acting CEO is waiting for council to work together in order for him to be able to take his employees and administrators to task, to motivate them, to support them so that they can implement. How are we going to do that with a divided house? Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Questions from Eddie Mumbo, New Era. Yesterday, MC gave reasons why appointment is or was tainted. What is your take on those reasons? The second question was at the heart of, at the bone of contention was Mayumbelo, who formed part of the panel. Mayumbelo scored his close associate Lutombi 100%, which was out of 26 questions. Was that true? Can we get the, if not, can we get the proof thereof? Some points, sometime this year, it was alleged Mupanda took interview sheets home. A WhatsApp group planning the appointment of the CEO was formed and it was leaked. What is your take on that?
You know, petty politics, gossips, sitting with people's names, and trying to drive the narrative of, because remember, Councillor Sade also sabotaged the Weri, which was an initiative that was Councillor Mupanda's, and Councillor Mupanda was this and Councillor Mupanda was this. I do not work with gossip. If the eyes of Sade Gawanas has not seen or heard or experienced it herself, she cannot speak to it. Where do we get this 100%? And now you want me to say if it's true or not? I'm sure there were articles in the newspapers. Even before we as council had the opportunity to see, already media houses had it. Now it must be very simple for us to be able to see how things work here. There was a process. As the appointing authority at council, what is my business listening to rumors and things that are so far-fetched that sometimes you wonder, wow. So, I'm sure there will just be allegations against Councillor Amupanda, and that's what it will be, unless evidence can be provided to the contrary. Also, there was a submission by Dr. Amupanda regarding the CEO matter. He has written to me, he has written to the minister, I have responded to the minister that we will investigate this allegation. There's no way that there comes a submission and I tug it under the rug. I have to deal with that submission by the councillor. I have to deal with the concerns of the HR department. But it also puts us in a very difficult position to interfere in the process while we are the authority the authority that appoints. So no, I don't sit and do allegations. I don't have such information. I will also not entertain such information, because what is required of me to be the chairperson of this council is to make sure that the House remains with integrity, honesty, and transparency.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Yes, you may.
Your Worship, my name is Jeremiah Njode. I work for Desert Radio in the Namibian. You articulated yourself, you said there's clear disunity in council. The situation is toxic, and at some point one would want that whole situation to be harmonized. You sort of were evasive on how you are planning to harmonize this, bring everything together, because there is a need for the sake of progress. That said, there is something else that you mentioned away from all the controversy and drama. You said the mayoral trust fund stands at 2 million. You mentioned that you're hoping to support some people with needs. How do you identify these people? Who are they, and in what way do they get the support?
Sorry, you are? Hendrina. Sometimes when the pressure's on you, you seem to get a little bit nervous, even though you try to look good on camera, but you get nervous. So let me just quickly answer. Okay. Yeah, the toxic one. The mayoral fund was created to help, and obviously has got specific criteria in terms of how to assist vulnerable communities. And unfortunately, all of a sudden, we actually heard that we need ministerial approval, which I have now delegated to legal to just see if this is the case, because in the past, it hasn't been that case. But you see, with the double dipping, that is the fund that I will be double dipping in order to be able to assist the vulnerable communities outside there. Eddie Mumbu would Eddie? Yeah, so that trust fund has been created to basically assist vulnerable communities within the City of Windhoek. Unfortunately, we're also having a bit of a situation with the procurement in terms of procuring that money to be able to buy the goods for the people. I think myself, procurement, the acting CEO, as well as finance, will be having a meeting just to clarify these issues that have been raised, that we can't access the money. In terms of identifying, what I did when I came into office was, in terms of my predecessor, there were people that had written to him as when he was the mayor. I then double-checked and worked with the employees to be able to see what are the needs of the people that were not addressed that time. There were obviously also letters written to myself as the mayor of Windhoek. So in that area, obviously, we'll then look at what assistance they need, and obviously to look through the mayoral fund and be able to then ascertain who can we help with, how much, and what we can do. So that in a nutshell, I think that is how the fund funds will be used. The toxic environment within council, I think I actually expressed a little bit on it, how it is unhealthy, and how for the next, is it still 4 months to go? You just keep on going. You just remain focused and you keep on going and see what is it that you can basically do in terms of getting the buy-in of councillors. Oh, you just.
But have you gone down to the cause of this? Maybe once you find the root cause of it, you might find out how to go about it, isn't it?
Yeah. No. Yes. I think I've also learned a lot in terms of. Sometimes I think it is also having to do with personality clashes within the council. Obviously, there are ulterior motives, which will obviously always be there, but you don't want to focus on that. And then you also, as a chairperson of council, I'm also sometimes forced to reflect on how perhaps I have maybe dealt with meetings or what have made other councillors unhappy, or what has created an environment where we do not work together. And as a chairperson, that reflection should be done, reflection in terms of people's different personalities, and then also look at what is it, because I think one of the things that one of the councillors or a few mentioned was that they have put through motions, for example, and petitions, and some of these have not been implemented. And I think the expectation from myself as the chairperson, together with the committees and together with the official, is to streamline so that their projects can, or motions or petitions can also be looked at. For example, would be the Heritage Committee, chaired by Councillor Mupanda, who is now with the petition of the removal of the statue. Then you have Councillor Kahungu with the basic provision of basically going into continuing with the provision of basic services for the informal settlements. So there are few matters that haven't been dealt with at the rate that councillors would have loved it to be dealt with in order for development to take place. And unfortunately, that can also be due to different factors. And we look at, I look at all of this and obviously just trying to streamline in terms of converging this energies, looking at the loopholes where we can't work together, or where we're struggling to work together, and then streamline that. Thank you.
Hendrina?
I'm Hendrina from One Africa TV. Yesterday, Councillor Yecht gave the financials of the city. Was the mayor aware? And obviously, the question is still, why was the mayor not present in such an important messages that were being shared yesterday?
Okay.
With regards to the release of the precarious state of the city's finances, did you authorize the release of such information?
Just to follow up also, Your Worship, I just want to find out, Your Worship, what is the way forward now? Is the recruitment process stalled? Is it coming before council? Is the management committee's decision final? Will the process restart? Where do we stand now with the recruitment of the CEO, and when can we expect the news and read that the city has appointed a CEO in its totality? Where do we stand with it? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hendrina. No problem. Thank you. On Friday, I received a letter from the management committee chairperson, informing me that she's going to have a press conference. I sat her down on Friday and I explained to her as to why it is not a good idea to have a press conference before my press conference, which was already scheduled 2 weeks before. I advised her that she knows that there is a vote of no confidence motion that is standing in front of us that we need to deal with. There is the contention, the issue of the CEO matter. There is all other issues, and it would not be good, and it will not look good out there as to why management committee is having a press conference and council is having a press conference. I explained it to her as to the not necessarily the image of council, but that there are consequences to every action that we take. And I had then also written to her to say that it is very premature to be able to, to do this that day. And I think with the video circulating around, you saw that I engaged her here before the meeting started, and I walked off because I said then I cannot be privy. I cannot be, as a chairperson of council, you cannot put me in such a situation whereby I will now have to sit and support the press conference. Hendrina, I did not know about what they were going to discuss or talk about yesterday. I was not informed. There is no documentation sent to me regarding the press conference yesterday as the chairperson of council, and Councillor Cllr, who is a member of the management committee, also did not receive such information. Unfortunately, the information that was received was unsanctioned. I did not support it in any form, shape, or color, because we understand how this organization is already and how we are taking mitigating factors into you are always constantly put in a situation where you would have to balance the residents out there, the services that we are giving, the financial stance of this organization, the culture of this organization, the policies that are here. Are they speaking to the reality? So we have to constantly engage in looking at the organization as a whole. How does this affect the employees, the morale of the employees that is already so decayed that people are simply just breathing in this organization? So it goes contrary to what we're trying to achieve inside here in council, trying to just balance everything in order to make sure that, look, we might have differences, yes, we will differ, yes, you and I will have an argument about something, or we would not be on the same page, but at the end of the day, what are we doing in terms of working together to provide a service at the end of the day? So it's quite a very sensitive matter. That was an information that was unsanctioned by myself as council. I didn't sanction it. I didn't support it at all, and therefore I was not part of the meeting held yesterday. Emil, the matter is before council. We will have a special council meeting. Unfortunately, we had to postpone the meeting, but I think I'll just quickly discuss something with you, Acting CEO. But at the next special council meeting, we will be dealing with the matter of the CEO so that council can pronounce itself. And I hope that the external opinion, as well as the investigation regarding to the submission, could also be cleared out. And then we will have that meeting to then pave the way forward for the organization and the residents out there. Thank you.
In the absence of questions, is there one more? Okay.
Yeah, Your Worship, can you address the question of the vote of no confidence in the management committee or in the members of the management committee? When do you address this? The other one is, I think at the beginning of your discussion, you indicated that the MC used the city's platforms to actually, for political expediency. Can you just explain what you mean when you say that? Thank you.
Thank you, Emil. Eddie, I hope that you will take it as I say it, and not go change it in a way that portrays a different image. There are standing rules that dictate how at a meeting the motion will be dealt with. We shall do so at the special council meeting in terms of the motion. Councillor Cllr, within her right as a councillor, had the right to then bring upon that motion. We will then deal with it in terms of the standing rules of order. Also, you must understand, Eddie, that council has got procedures in terms of communicating with the residents out there. And those platforms are created by the chairperson, myself, the acting CEO, and Mr. Akwene. Not anybody can just stand up and have a press conference or say anything on behalf of council without doing due diligence. You saw the councillors that were here yesterday. I'm sure you can denote from there. Thank you.
Said something? Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, we came to the end of our proceedings. Thank you for supporting the briefing and attending it. Appreciate it. Yeah, we came to an end, so thank you.